guys and dolls, welcome back. It's me, Cora. Today I'm excited to bring you a review and demo and comparison and wear test, kind of all in one, for the Physicians Formula Cushion Foundation and the MAC Cushion Foundation. There's so many companies that have these cushion foundations. These are just two that I have, one from the drugstore, one from High End. Actually, I'm going to flip these back because I'm going to wear the MAC one on this side and the Physicians Formula one on this side to kind of get a test comparison between the two sides at the same time. I've not worn either of these before, so this is truly, a complete and total test run for me because I haven't tried them yet. So let's kind of dive into the differences between these. The Physicians Formula product is, I think, $16.99 that's how much I paid for it at Target. You get 0.47 ounces of product, so less than a half an ounce of product. So it's a small amount that you get in these cushion foundations. And this one actually has sunscreen. So this one is a talc-free SPF 50 foundation. This is meant to be medium or light coverage. Of course, the compact it comes in is adorable. When you open it up, the sponge should actually be here, but I had taken the sponge out to have a look at it. So you've got the mirror inside, you've got the little sponge. The sponge is sort of a rubbery kind of texture. And then there's this little plastic piece that keeps the cushion foundation from drying out. So this keeps it nice and airtight. And then you have your cushion foundation. So that is the Physicians Formula product. I really like that it has sunscreen, but I'm not going to rely on this as my sole source of sunscreen because I am all about that sunscreen. The MAC product looks like this. So it comes in a black compact, a little more subdued, a little classic though. You open it up, and again, we have a mirror at the top, and this one also has a sponge. This one has a textured side, which is, of course, you're not supposed to use that side, but it's just interesting that they did texturize that side, and then it has the rubberized side. This part of the sponge feels pretty much identical from both brands. And again, we have the airtight seal here. I feel like this one, it's not as hard to move. And then I kept this on this here. They both had these little seals that covered it up, that kept the foundation from drying out before you ever even open it. So again, it has the cushion. The cushion texture on each of these is slightly different. The Physicians Formula one is a little bit more of an open sponge, whereas this one is more of a little more refined, a little tinier. There's a pretty significant price difference between these. The Physicians Formula, as I said, was $16.99. The MAC one is $36. So a really big price difference between these two. The other thing is that the Physicians Formula comes in 3 colors and the MAC version comes in 12 different colors. And I think that the shade selection on this is really great. The other thing that I want to kind of call out is that the MAC one actually claims to be water resistant. It claims it's going to help minimize the appearance of pores. It actually has quite a few claims. It also claims to control oil. It's long wearing for 8 hours. It's oil free. Provides stay true color, so supposedly it's not going to oxidize. Non-caking, non-streaking, and as I said, water resistant. The other thing I want to mention about the MAC one is it does not have sunscreen, whereas this one does. So I am going to apply sunscreen all over my face to protect myself. I'm going to use Superfluid from Kiehl's. Lately I've been using this as a foundation primer / sunscreen, and I've really been liking it. It is superfluid. So put that on all over the face. Let that soak in for a few minutes. Actually, it's already feeling pretty dry already. If you guys have not ever used this Kiehl's Superfluid, this has got to be one of the best sunscreens I've ever used. It feels so light as air. Like, I'm already ready to put foundation on top. So I'm going to go ahead and start out with the MAC product, and you apply them much the same way. I kind of looked up online to see how you do this. So you slip your finger into the little sponge guy, open her up, and then you don't like smash onto it. You gently press to get product onto the sponge or the cushion thing. And then I believe you're supposed to swipe to apply. And we're just going to do half my face with this one. So far I actually really like that. I don't have my regular mirror, so don't mind me. And it says around places like the nose and the eyes to bend and sort of dab. So far, so good. Looks like the shade matches well. I'm using shade 1, which is my normal Match Master shade. And I picked up a little extra product so I could do my forehead. I think the match is really good on the MAC side. That is it applied. And it really, to me, almost looks like a tinted moisturizer. It's not like a ton of coverage. So I think the light to medium coverage is probably an okay claim. So now we're going to do the Physicians Formula side. And I warn you, I dropped the sponge. Warn you with the Physicians Formula side, I believe that this is too deep for me. So this might look a little funky. So again, we're going to gently press. It just sort of soaks up into it. Oh, and then swipe. This is what I read. I'm not 100% certain. Oh, this one feels like it's already, like it's sucked up in there really good. Like it's not gliding on the skin as good. Texture-wise, it looks nice. I'm going to pick up a little bit more on this, on the little sponge guy. It's a little quicker because it seems to dry pretty fast. Even though it looks like the shade is off, it's not that bad. I really expected it to be, I mean, you can tell there's like a line of demarcation, but we're gonna go ahead and blend that out. So the idea, I believe, is that you sort of swipe it on to sort of distribute, and then you come back and you dab, which makes a lot of sense. You know, you spread the product around and then you come and dab to, you know, get rid of any streaky marks. So far, so good. And I'm gonna grab a little more product. So I feel like this one feels a little bit less light. Of course, it could be because I'm having to apply more, but it's definitely soaking up more into this little sponge. Like it's drying faster. That's a good way to put it. Really blend that down the neck because the color is quite different. So the MAC one matches a bit better, but overall, I mean, it's not going to be so noticeable. I'm actually going to go run errands today and stuff, and I don't think I'm going to be embarrassed. So that is it for the foundation. I'm really into it. I definitely am going to still do my normal routine, which is powdering my face, putting on concealer, because in order for this to be a true fair test, I feel like I need to do those things. Like a lot of times when I see a foundation routine, people just wear the foundation, and I just don't feel like that's like a realistic test of whether or not a foundation is going to work, because if you're not doing your normal stuff, of course it's not going to look right. So I'm just applying a little bit of concealer under my eyes. I don't think I'm going to apply anywhere else in my face because I'm very fortunate and at the moment I don't have a ton of zits. I'm going to use my Rose Radiance from MAC. I did recently get this one from NYX, which I have been liking lately, but just for the sake of this test, I want to use what I know to work well so that I know that nothing else is a factor in this. I'm going to go ahead and apply a little loose powder to my face to set because I can't walk around with an unpowdered face. But I'm going to do it very lightly. This is a Wayne Goss brush. It's very light and distributes powder quite evenly. And I'm just sort of mashing that around. And one little tip, this is really helpful for loose powder, is to actually bang on the bottom of your brush because it sort of settles the powder more into your brush so that you don't have like a big glob of powder that's going onto your face, so you don't mess up your foundation application. So sort of mash the powder into the brush and tap it from the bottom. Light face of makeup, but you know, comfortable weekend. In fact, this looks so good. Even this side, which I was really concerned with that was going to be too dark, looks pretty good. It's like, I can tell it's like a little too dark. Nothing egregious, nothing that, you know, is going to be a major like scary and embarrassing in public. I'm going to go ahead and go about my business, and I will check in with you guys throughout the day to see how this is progressing. It's starting to look a little shiny, a little glowy. You know, it's definitely, I think that's what this type of foundation is. I definitely think that it's the kind where it's like luminosity and all that stuff. I personally really want to blot, and here, I'll come into light over here so you guys can see. It's a little shiny. My freckles and bits are starting to pop through a little bit, but it doesn't look bad. It looks very like naturalistic. So I'm gonna go ahead and give myself my usual like blot with a little bit of powder and stuff like that. So I actually don't have any of my blotting papers on me. I switched out purses and I don't have any blotting papers. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna take a Chipotle napkin. Rub a little E. coli on my face to blot away any excess. Now, both of these foundations actually said that you're supposed to, or that you can like touch up with the foundation. I just touch up with powder. I'm a powder kind of gal. So I'm going to use my NYX Stay Matte Not Flat.
I can hold it.
Oh, Mikey's going to hold it for me like my little cameraman. Oh, that's an unflattering, that's a really unflattering angle. Don't you know about YouTube angles? Gosh. There you go.
Here, hold on. There you go. Now it's focused.
Hi, guys. Okay, so powder. And see, I'm not going to like put it on super heavy. This is different. It's like the opposite of that, like those Instagram videos where people would be like, we are back from shopping, and it's been now at this point about 6 hours since I've been wearing the foundation. It's actually holding together pretty well. I'm definitely impressed with it so far. It is looking like it's worn away a little around my nose, but I have a cold, so I have had to blow my nose. That's really not all that surprising. If anything, I'm kind of impressed with how much it still is there. It looks maybe a little cakey or a little dry around the mouth, but again, I've had a meal since I, put this on. It's been now 6 hours, so I think overall actually doing pretty good. So let's go ahead and do a quick zoom in so you guys can see, because I couldn't do that earlier when I was in the car. So this is the Physicians Formula, and this is the MAC side. One thing I can tell is that the Physicians Formula side is a little bit darker, but it's not, I don't think it's any darker than it was when I first put it on. It's just something that as days gone on, like, I look at myself in the mirror and I can see the difference, but it's not like a stark contrast or anything. It's not. And that's really what testing two different shades. But the question is, does this one that only comes with 3 shades, can it actually match, more people? And I think because it's sheer, so if it was a more full coverage foundation, it'd be so much more obvious that it was not matching me. But because it's a sheer foundation, I feel like I get, a nice like evening out. And in some ways, the more yellow tonedness of it helps calm down the red. Although I do think that this side has better coverage. The directions for this said that you could touch up with it, so I decided, since I've had some stuff going on, like blowing my nose and whatnot, I would actually go ahead and touch up with this as well. With the touch up on both sides, I've already done it. Sorry I did it off camera, but at least you're seeing the results, and I think the most important thing is just seeing how it wears over time. So there it is with a touch up. I think that it looks really good with the touch up. I think that looks really great, actually using the foundation itself as the touch-up. I'm not going to powder it because I already powdered it earlier, and I feel like if I were just to add that, it's already kind of backwards to put foundation over powder, but I think in this instance, because there was so much oil on my face from throughout the day, I think it's okay. But I think if I were to add powder on top of this, that's when it would start to get kind of scary and cakey and pasty and not good. So I am now going to relax for another couple hours and check in with you guys in a few more hours. Okay guys, so here we are at the end of the day. As you can see, my voice sounds super craggy. And I am knee deep at the very end of the Jessica Jones saga, so I do want to get back to that. So I'm going to make this as brief as possible. I do think that this is actually a pretty promising light coverage foundation. Most of the time with light coverage foundations, tinted moisturizers and things like that, I find that they usually don't last longer than 6 hours. This was actually still holding up pretty well, considering that I had done things like blown my nose and things like that. I did do the 2 touch-ups throughout the day, which is something that I would naturally do anyway. And it's kind of cool that you can actually touch it with the foundation due to the nature of the product and how you apply it. And I was really, really impressed with it after I actually touched it up with the foundation. Whereas like with a typical, you know, foundation, if you wanted to touch it up, you'd have to bring like, you know, your Beauty Blender sponge or like, you know, just a lot more different things to reapply the foundation. And I was actually able to reapply this over the powder foundation, and I found that it still looked really good. In terms of between the two of these, which one do I prefer? I do really like the fact that this one is only $16, which is still really expensive for a drugstore foundation, but it's considerably cheaper than the $36 that the MAC one costs. And I also love that this has sunscreen in it, but I am disappointed with the shade selection. 3 colors is just not going to cover it for, you know, all humans who are such vastly different colors. This one sort of kind of works for me. It's a little deeper than my skin tone, but I can pull it off. I can, you know, I didn't look like a freak walking around with like two-tone foundation or anything. It's just the color selection doesn't match me exactly, and it's not going to match most people. With that being said, I actually think this is still pretty great. The only other call out is that I do feel like this one, the texture is a little less refined after all these hours. I feel like my pores are coming through a little bit more, but it's so much cheaper, so you could always use some sort of pore refining powder or some kind of primer beforehand. In terms of the amount of coverage that you get about the same with both of these. They lasted about, I mean, they both look shiny at this point. I cannot wait to wash my face. So let me know what you thought of this video where I showed you guys, you know, the progress of how something wore throughout the day. Let me know if there are any like dupe videos that you guys want me to compare products. And that's it. I hope you're having a great day. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Remember to be vintage or tacky. Just be your own kind of beautiful. See you, bye. The best part about a video like this. Oh.